Coming up on the December 3rd edition of Carolina Week, they're skilled on the field, but how do student athletes stack up academically?
The university is getting closer to finding out what penalties are in store after nearly 20 years of academic scandal.
These songbirds have something to teach all of us about attracting a mate. All that and more.
Carolina Week starts right now.
From the UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering Carolina in HD, this is Carolina Week.
It has been this semester's biggest news, UNC's academic and athletic scandal. Good evening, I'm Anissa Jabbar.
And I'm Kristen Ruffin. In some respects, the WINSTON report has raised more questions than it has provided answers. In the wake of the WINSTON report, scrutiny of the athletics department has increased. Coming up, reporter Kelsey Height looks into academic services offered to student athletes. More about that in a moment. First, reporter Elizabeth Tu is live in our satellite studio looking into admission standards for student athletes.
Kristen, the university says admission standards are the same for student athletes as they are for all other applicants. But when I took a closer look at the numbers between the two, I found a few disparities. Football, basketball. They're the revenue sports here at Carolina, like most other Division I schools in the country, and being successful in these sports is important. Last year, men's football and basketball teams generated between $51 and $54 million in revenue, depending on which sources you look at.
We're going to receive today.
The WINSTON report mentions a tension between high academic standards and a strong athletics program. It went so far as to say the admission of underprepared student athletes was part of the reason for the academic scandal. So what are the standards for athletes to be admitted into the university? I went to the admissions department to find out. Getting answers wasn't too easy. Is there no way to get that information?
And that's a fair question. I don't know.
When pressed, Farmer said,
every single student we evaluate, again, is the capacity to succeed, the likelihood of succeeding academically at the university. Beyond that, we're looking for a range of qualities.
According to the 2013-2014 Intercollegiate Athletics Report, UNC freshman basketball players averaged a high school GPA of 2.97 and combined SAT scores of 923, while UNC freshman football players averaged a high school GPA of 3.04 and combined SAT scores of 1,004. Compare all this to undergrads accepted for the class of 2017, who averaged SAT scores of 1343 and unweighted GPAs of 3.8. Some on campus say these athletes are getting unfair advantages, both getting into school and staying there.
We cannot have a class of second-class students at Carolina who are held to inferior standards.
But others maintain athletes are pulling double duty, not just in the classroom, but on the field.
I think we have outstanding students that can succeed academically and athletically.
Thanks, Elizabeth. In addition to special admissions criteria, once admitted, student athletes receive special services like tutoring, study lounges, and midpoint check-ins from their professors. Reporter Kelsey Height is live in our studio with more.
Kristen, we looked into the special privileges student athletes receive in an attempt to answer an important question. Are they fair?
UNC senior Emily Petruka is considered an at-risk student. Why? Because as a transfer student, Petruka is 20% less likely to graduate in 4 years.
It's definitely been more of a challenge. I came from a community college up north, so the workload is not as heavy.
And transfers aren't the only at-risk students. UNC's 4-year graduation rate for black males is just 60%. Deborah Stroman is the chairwoman of the Carolina Black Caucus and an exercise sports science professor. Stroman admits this is concerning.
And I think about the 3 C's. You have to look at the culture, you have to look at the climate, and you have to look at the curriculum. But when you look at all 3 of those things, clearly something is broken.
While minorities are struggling to meet UNC's demands, athletes are here at the Loudermilk Center of Excellence.
The Loudermilk Center is home to the Academic Support Program for student athletes. Here, 12 academic counselors, 3 learning specialists, and 90 tutors are paid to guide and support student athletes.
When athletes come to a university like this, obviously you have lots of choices, you have lots of demands on your schedule as a varsity scholarship athlete.
Demands like these have led to student athletes receiving benefits, including special letters asking professors to review their academic performance.
The athletes are such a prominent group on campus in terms of what they provide the university, in terms of how they enrich the university with the diversity, in terms of the economic benefits that the university receives.
But students like Petruka don't think this is fair.
I don't know. I think that whether or not you're an athlete or you come here for your academics, I think we all have something to bring to the table to the university.
Pachuca isn't upset that athletes get all of this extra help. She just thinks other students deserve to get it too, especially those in identified high-risk groups.
That was Kelsey Height live in our studio. Thanks, Kelsey.
UNC Chapel Hill is still reeling from the WINSTON report, and something else could rock the campus even more. For that, we go to Susanna Black live outside South Building.
Anissa, it's something small enough to fit inside an envelope, but it could have a significant and long-lasting impact on this university.
It's being called unprecedented.
The focus of our investigation was what we call the paper classes.
After the release of the WINSTON report, UNC's academic scandal has taken another turn.
We received a letter from SACS in mid-November.
That letter was from the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, the accrediting body for the university, as well as 803 other institutions across 11 southern states. According to UNC spokesman Rick White, Kenneth Weinstein's findings troubled the accreditor.
This followed our providing SACS with the copy of the WINSTON report, obviously pointed out a lot of deficiencies here in the university.
Deficiencies that have now raised questions for SACS about the university's compliance with their principles of accreditation. There's 17 of them, including a principle of integrity. If SACS finds that UNC doesn't measure up, the university's accreditation status could be at risk. Without accreditation, the university wouldn't be able to receive any federal funding, about $189 million per year.
According to federal law, you have to be an accredited institution recognized by the Department of Education or various federal agencies to receive federal funding.
White says the university is doing all it can to keep UNC accredited.
We will go through it point by point, responding to their questions and their queries, making sure they have the information they need. If there's more information they want, we'll provide them with whatever they want on that to respond to their questions and assure them that we meet the standards which they've set for us.
SACS could do 4 things. They could uphold the university's accreditation, give a warning, put the university on probation, or revoke accreditation completely. Now, out of the 803 institutions accredited through SACS, 10 have been given a warning, 5 are on probation, and 1 institution, Bruton Parker College, has had its accreditation revoked due to financial reasons. Anissa?
The university has until January 7th to respond to the letter, documenting its compliance with the standards. Thanks, Susanna.
After the release of the WINSTON report, Chancellor Carol Folt said 9 employees could be terminated or disciplined. One of them is Jamie Lee, a former athletics counselor. Her name became public a month after the investigation, or the WINSTON report came out. 10 media organizations have filed a lawsuit against the university to get the names of the other 8. The hearing will be on December 8th in the Wake County Courthouse. Every year, thousands of people get sick from a common virus.
That's right. Coming up, what that virus is and how you can prevent yourself from getting sick.
Voices are still crying out across the country and in Chapel Hill in protest of a grand jury's decision not to indict Officer Darren Wilson. He's the white police officer who shot an unarmed black teen in Ferguson, Missouri in August. In a small peaceful demonstration in Chapel Hill, about 50 protesters gathered at Elliott Road, then marched up East Franklin Street. As they walked, they shouted, "Hands up, don't shoot."
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
As when the protesters arrived at the court building near the UNC campus, they shared testimonials about race and injustice. Students gathered in the Stone Center Monday night to discuss their sentiments about the Michael Brown verdict and race relations in the U.S. They wrote their thoughts on sticky notes and shared them with other students around them. Many students proposed action they could take within the Chapel Hill and Durham communities. Participating in the die-in on Monday and shutting down the pit today were their next steps.
Everyone is talking about Ebola, but there's a more contagious virus in North Carolina. Cough, sore throat, and body aches. Flu season is here. Reporter Ben Smart has the information you need to stay flu-free.
UNC sophomore Brad Joyner is a busy college student. He's a biology and chemistry double major, so he's always on top of his study schedule. One thing he didn't plan on, the flu.
I felt terrible. I had a headache, I was achy, I was tired. I didn't feel like doing anything, and I didn't go to class for 2 weeks.
Fever, cough, sore throat, runny nose, body aches, headaches, and fatigue. When you're sick with the flu, you've actually been infected by this tiny organism, an influenza virus. Dr. Ravi Javari says the highly contagious flu is not to be taken lightly.
There are patients that describe getting the flu and feeling like they got hit with a sledgehammer over the head. It is not a trivial illness. Every year, 50,000 people or more in the country die.
50,000. That's more than motor vehicle and gun deaths combined in 2010. To prevent sickness, wash your hands regularly with soap and water. Be careful about what you touch. And most importantly, get your flu shot. This flu season, Brad says he's better prepared.
So I went into the campus pharmacy yesterday and got my flu shot. It was really easy. The pharmacist did it within like 5 minutes. I decided that I never want to get the flu ever again.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Ben Smart, reporting.
Last month, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services reported that 15 people tested positive for the flu. You can get a flu vaccine at campus health services or at any nearby walk-in pharmacy.
The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill celebrates its largest donation ever received from an individual. Fred Eshelman, CEO of Wilmington-based research company, made the $100 million donation to the Eshelman School of Pharmacy. Eshelman has now donated a total of $138 million to the school.
It's the beginning of December, and that means some people on campus are getting into the holiday spirit with Christmas classics.
Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here.
Employees at the Bull's Head Bookshop and UNC student stores hosted a bilingual reading of the Dr. Seuss classic, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. They read the story of the Green Who from Whoville in English and in Latin. It's a 14-year-old tradition at the bookstore that kicks off the holiday season. Attendees warmed up on a chilly day with hot chocolate as they followed along with those reading the children's book, which was published nearly 60 years ago. And that's not the only Christmas tradition people are upholding this year. With Thanksgiving done and dusted, it's time to update the shopping list. And the #1 item, Christmas trees. North Carolina is the top 6 of Christmas tree growing states, so it's not hard for residents to find that perfect one. At many tree lots, like the one here, customers can choose from a variety of heights and shapes. Once they decided on the right one, employees can clean it up, put a base on it, and tie it to the roof of the car for a safe ride home. Some students are in shorts and leaving their big coats at home.
Weathercaster Drew Day tells us what's coming up on the weather roller coaster.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Drew Day. Thanks for staying with us this evening. It was cloudy and overcast across much of the state today, and that led to some dreary feelings out there today. Temperatures only made it into the upper 50s this afternoon, and we expect cooler weather to move in later on this evening. You can see all the thick cloud cover that we had across the area. Again, we had a little bit of wearing away of that cloud cover, a little bit of erosion along the coast this afternoon, and even here in Chapel Hill, we were just far west enough that we were able to get into the sunshine late this afternoon, and so that's why we made it into the upper 50s this afternoon. We were expecting to make it into the mid 60s, but we did have a warm front move across the state, and that's because we're in a cold air damming situation across the area right now, where cold air gets trapped east of the Appalachian Mountains, and when you get these types of patterns, they're very hard to break. But the good news is that a frontal system, a cold front, is not too far behind, and when that pushes eastward throughout the overnight period and throughout the day tomorrow, that will push all the cloud cover out of the area and clear us up so that we may see just a few peaks of sunshine tomorrow. Now, we do have an area of high pressure off to the west, so once this cold front moves through, it will build in, and it's this area of high pressure that will bring us colder weather for tomorrow. By 7 p.m. this evening, that cold front is over central North Carolina, passing through with that area of high pressure back behind it. By the time we get to 7 a.m. in the morning, that high pressure is positioned just in the right spot so that the clockwise flow around areas of high pressure will allow cold air to move down into the state later on Thursday afternoon, and so expect cooler weather tomorrow with highs in the upper 40s here in Chapel Hill. By tomorrow evening, we have a front just off to the west building, and that will bring us some rain late in the evening on Friday and most likely showers throughout the day on Saturday. So if you're headed out to the basketball game later on this evening, temperatures will be in the lower 50s for start, upper 40s by the time the game is wrapping up. So take a jacket with you if you're headed out to the game. You will need it. By late this evening, temperatures will be in the lower 40s with partly cloudy skies. So the cloud cover will break up just a bit later on this evening, but then it will increase throughout the overnight period. So that we'll be back to the cloud cover tomorrow morning at 49. So it will be chilly tomorrow. There will be a little bit of a wind out there, 5 to 10 miles per hour, but it will not be all that strong, and that is what will be bringing in that colder air tomorrow. That cold air will be advecting cooler temperatures into our region. 41 to start at 8 a.m. and then temperatures make it into the upper 40s by lunchtime, so we're not going to warm up all that much tomorrow afternoon. Only a 6 or 9 degree spread between the temperatures. Expect clouds throughout the entire day tomorrow. The 5-day forecast, and once we get through Thursday, temperatures will make it into the lower 50s for Friday, and then the showers move in for Saturday. Saturday's the best chance of rain, just a few showers on Sunday and 52, and then maybe we'll get back to near 60 for Monday, but this is normal for this time of year. Our highs around 57, which of course we all want it to be warmer, but it looks like the colder weather is moving in.
The temperatures don't bother me as much as the cloudiness. It just looks so dreary coming up.
Yeah, it'll be quite dreary and maybe even feel a little bit depressing here the next several days. Don't expect to see a lot of sunshine.
We'll get through it.
Thanks for that insight, Drew.
Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome.
Men's soccer is one of the only 2 fall sports teams alive in the playoffs.
Luis Fernandez is next with sports.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Luis Fernandez with sports. The ACC Big Ten Challenge started last night, and now Carolina will play the 5-2 Iowa Hawkeyes at the Dean Dome. Iowa's only losses have come from 2 ranked teams, so it won't be an easy game by any means. I'll be interested to see how the Bigs stack up in this game. The Hawkeyes have a tall squad anchored by 6'9" forward Aaron White. Here he is in transition with a dunk. There's also 6'8" forward Jared Utoff and 7'1" center Adam Woodbury. Height means rebounding, and if Carolina struggled against Butler, well, things could be bad against Iowa. The Hawkeyes have a plus 22 rebounding margin on the season. For the Tar Heels to succeed, the dynamic duo of Bryce Johnson and Kennedy Meeks will have to play very physical. Look for Desmond Huber to get more playing time as well. He can provide a strong defensive presence. Fun fact for the night, this will be Iowa's first official road game of the season. Men's soccer has made it to the Elite 8. That's right, Carolina is on a roll after knocking off 7th seed Clemson in South Carolina. Carolina didn't take long to score. Just 12 minutes in, sophomore midfielder Omar Holness sets up Rob Lovejoy for that sweet header off of a corner kick. Tar Heels lead 1-0. Fast forward to the second half, and Lovejoy wasn't done. Take a look at the senior forward, push his way past 2 defenders and bend this beauty just past the tips of the goalkeeper. What a shot. Carolina wins 2-1. Next up for the Tar Heels is a match on Saturday in Southern California against UCLA. UNC played the 2nd-seeded Bruins at the very beginning of the season in Chapel Hill. They lost a tight one, 1-0. The second team still alive is women's volleyball. The NCAA tournament is just underway. Now, the number 7 seed Tar Heels are hosting the first 2 rounds in Carmichael Arena. Carolina plays Hampton on Friday at 6:30. UNC's focus all year has been postseason play. Number 8 senior Lauren McAdoo is looking to help lead the team on a deep run. But Carolina hasn't moved past the second round since 2002. From a sport just getting started to one that's almost over, we look to football. Now, no need to talk about the state game. We've talked about it enough already. With only a possible bowl game left, let's take a look back at the Carolina football season. We'll start with the offense. Marquise Williams and company were the best part of Carolina football this year. They averaged 34 points per game, putting up almost 300 yards in the air. I'm sure you remember this Mac Hollins long grab. They also put up about 150 yards on the ground. Now, those numbers could have been even higher if not for the quarterback rotation that started the season off. My main complaint would be how dependent the team was on Williams' scrambling ability. The running game was never really consistent. Ultimately, that led to Williams getting hit more and more throughout the season and getting knocked out of the NC State game. I think we can all agree the defense wasn't exactly great, but what was the reason behind it? Honestly, there was a lack of depth, missed tackles, and missed assignments. The fast-paced tempo of the offense kept the defense out on the field for the majority of the game. The only game Carolina won time of possession was at Duke. It was also their best defensive performance of the year. Coincidence? Then there was the missed tackles all over the place all season. That's easy to see. In the front seven, Carolina struggled to get off of blocks and fill gaps in the run game. And in the secondary, there were too many times when wide receivers were just wide open. The defense did force turnovers, though. There were some positives. They tied for 30th in the nation with 23 on the season. So don't forget about special teams. It baffles me the differences in this unit from last year to this year. Last year, Carolina had 5 punt return touchdowns and 2 kick return touchdowns. Carolina tried 19 field goals and made 14. That's about 3 of every 4, with a long of 40 yards. And punter Tommy Hibbard was excellent, with 25 kicks inside the 20 and a long of 76 yards. This year, though, 0 punt or kick return touchdowns. Only half of the 12 field goals kicked were good, this time with only a long of 30 yards. Well, you know, at least punting was consistent. That was good. Now, despite the problems, the Heels are still bowl eligible. One ESPN projection has Carolina playing Arkansas in the Duck Commander Independence Bowl. Now, on Monday, 6 Carolina players received all-conference honors, including quarterback Marquise Williams. He got second-team All-ACC honors behind a certain Heisman Trophy winner, Jameis Winston. Let's take a look at how these two stack up, because I'm thinking you can make a case for Williams to be first team. Let me read you some numbers really quick. Quarterback Jameis Winston threw for 3,250 yards. He had 65% completion rate with 21 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. Williams had 2,870 yards, 63% completion rate, and 20 touchdowns with only 9 interceptions. The biggest difference, though, was in the run game. Winston ran for 70 yards and 3 touchdowns, but Williams ran for 737 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Nothing wrong with second place. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis.
Coming up next, we're talking about the birds and the bees.
Do these little guys rival sex life on campus?
All right, let's talk about sex. Songbird sex, that is. UNC researchers have found a trait in songbirds that could reveal how they mate. When it comes to the dating scene, birds might be more like humans than you think. Alexa Simmons reports.
This male songbird will get a mate based on the quality of his song. But there is no guarantee he will be pitch perfect every year, and that's okay according to UNC biology professor Keith Sockman.
That would suggest that females need to have some flexibility in the criteria they establish for these signals that they use in selecting a mate.
That's exactly what Sockman and graduate student Susan Lyons discovered in songbirds, and it's called the contrast effect.
So for the contrast effect, why does these previous circumstances influence how you respond to this new stimulus?
The circumstance she's talking about is trill performance, or how good or bad the male songbirds sing. Sockman and Lyons manipulated trills from 18 songs on this software to see how Lincoln Sparrow females react to those changes.
To our knowledge, this is the first demonstration of a contrast effect for a performance-based sexual signal.
In this videotaped demonstration, the researchers played a trill like this, with fast, high-performance vibrations for 6 female birds. Another set of female birds heard a trill like this one. That's slower with the lower performance. All 12 birds got a new type of exposure to an intermediate song. The birds who heard the low-performance trills were more attracted to the intermediate song than the birds who were used to a higher performance. This means female attraction is all relative.
If you can't adjust the threshold for accepting a mate as is, then you're going to forego breeding that year.
And so it turns out, male songbirds don't have to perform a superlative serenade to attract a mate. In Chapel Hill, I'm Alexis Simmons reporting.
Sounds like ladybirds have as tough a time as we do getting the males, don't they, Anissa?
Yeah. Well, if I sang to pick up a date, I would be out of luck.
Well, what can we do? That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Good night.